common journeys. I just wanted to see a bear, a black bear, just one bear. It became my quest. Originally, we were to have what we thought was a luxury vacation on a train called the Flying Dutchman through the Wild West with porters serving bison on fine china as we gazed at the vast terrain with cozy seating in an embellished red leather banquette. The promise of the Flying Dutchman was to satisfy every whim, from the heated hand towels to the Purky linens in the vaulted sleeping car under the stars of the most beautiful country anyone had ever seen. What I didn't read in the fine print was that when one disembarks from the Flying Dutchman, they will be loaded onto a stagecoach bus, which would travel from park to park, from one Wild West buffet to another. The tour group would then be herded onto one of the vast plains to observe a bald eagle mating, or the bison, one of the fare on the train, snorting and grazing. The literature assured there would be plenty of opportunities for photos. I told my husband there was no way I was going on this trip. So we went to Wyoming to the Four Seasons to hike. Each day in Wyoming, there was a definitive promise of a bear. On our first day out, we went to see an eager ranger named Chip, who said we had to be really careful. They're all over. Never approach, never beckon, he gesticulated, and certainly never offer food. One swipe and you're decapitated. That happened to a guy. These woods are teeming with them. The ranger gave us his bear spray. We were to point and spray if we saw one. Chip said it was like pepper spray. It stuns them, he said forcefully. Bam! We took the spray. We had our trail mix and our water. Jim had a map each day. I was excited. Each day we passed hikers from all over the world. Wholesome hikers, sturdy and huffing and puffing. Foxy chick hikers wearing skin-tight spandex, carrying Diet Cokes and speaking rapidly in what sounded like German. Mentally ill hikers, clutching big tree branches, grunting and swearing, wearing neon-down parkas in the heat. They yelled, "Hi!" really loudly and smelled of root beer. Everyone with good cameras. Everyone with good cameras and bear spray. They all had it. The hikes were hard for me. I found it exhausting. I often wanted to quit and go back to the hotel to lie inert in front of the fake fire on the turn-down service. But my husband sallied forth, so I followed him, and at each resting point, at each pause, I would ask quietly, "So have you seen a bear?" The Japanese hikers really looked at me weirdly when I asked this, especially when I did a pantomime of one and made a guttural noise. They stared at me, spoke rapidly, and continued on. So many hikers were more adept at hiking than me and cruised past me, gargantuan hiking boots and bags of trail mix. More skin-tight hiking chicks sporting kayaks effortlessly like the Playboy bunnies of hiking. I imagine their profiles. I like to bang outside in Wyoming, under a pristine sky with a bottle of Evian next to a gurgling creek. I was the plump hiker, panting, wearing a Costco sweatshirt and jeans from Chico's. I was an embarrassment to the realm of hiking because I had jeans from Chico's. And they kept falling down on the hikes, and I would tug them up, cheerfully waving to a couple from Australia. I picked the cashews out of the trail mix when we would stop and they'd stick in my teeth. The falling Chico's jeans got stuck on a branch, and I mooned a guy who snorted, "Pull him up, Dolly!" I was sweating under my Costco sweatshirt and had to pee too often in the woods, and brambles stuck to my butt. My husband was a real hiker, like Johnny Appleseed or something, and he kept saying, "Isn't this great? Isn't this great?" When we did stop for lunch, it was some dried chicken strips and more water. I perched on a boulder and my hemorrhoids acted up. I saw no more wildlife than some burrowing chipmunks, and I was getting really depressed. Were there too many jubilant hikers who have scared the bears away? I had become obsessed. We had to see a bear. We actually did a 5-miler, and then I told my husband we had to stop. Brambles protruded from my Chico's jeans, and sweat poured from my Costco sweatshirt that had a bad dye job and was staining the orange. "It's time to go back to the hotel!" I yelled wildly, scattering trail mix like rice at a wedding. So we went back to the hotel. Not one goddamn bear. I was so sore and disoriented, I opened the minibar in the room and started stuffing the stocked candy into my mouth. The chicken strips for lunch had been a rustic beauty, but I needed food. If there was to be no bear, I needed to compensate. The night was completed by passing out on the exquisite linens, with the coconut pieces of the trail mix gurgling from one corner of my mouth. I had been a stalwart hiker. I had mounted the Wyoming sky. Nothing, just a damn chipmunk scampering. We came home and I resumed my routine. Carpool, swimming lessons, housewife things. I had removed painfully the branches and growing things from my Chico's jeans before we got on the plane. And ultimately I saw no more wildlife in my yard than on the trip. The morning after we came home, a doe and 2 fawns at 5 a.m. in the stillness, feeding in our yard, right next to the glass window, almost touching me. I guessed I'd have to go to Alaska next time to see a bear. Or be satisfied with the zoo, throwing forbidden peanuts into the enclosure, with the hope that something wouldn't go wrong, and I'd be, just like Ranger Chip warned, decapitated. Thank you.